Let me move on to something that's very important. Since you're not going to do this alone, how do you go about looking at what kind of people you need to partner with? You partner with, a billionaire's son. Well, good. At least that person's going to have money. But how many of us are that lucky or unlucky? So you've got to figure a way to see what is needed for the job at hand. So this is very quickly, I'm going to run through this. I've kind of distilled this. It's not to say these are the only skills people need, but in a startup context, you've got to have an idea, a person or who has the idea and the passion about the idea. And that's totally different to a person who's totally passionate about coding and developing software and is really super duper in the architecture and has the patience to stay up to date with all the new versions and all the changes that, our wonderful software companies keep throwing at us and hardware companies. You've got to have an execution persona, and he's the strongest of the group in planning out the work needed. He anticipates issues, and I would say he's the strongest at giving. The execution person has to be a very giving person, not just to say that, he accepts what everybody's saying, but has to be giving in terms of understanding what other people may want, what their issues could be, and coming up with the time and patience and energy to resolve their issues. The marketing persona, deep understanding of how the client acquisition thing works and knows how outreach works. Let me move on. This is an example. The reason I go to this is because you won't find one person who covers everything, and no person will cover all four areas. So we took Mark Zuckerberg. I did this as a class session, and we tried different profiles. What do you think Mark Zuckerberg's profile is? And Zahir, if you could launch the second poll now, please. Is Mark more an idea guy or is he an execution guy? I'd like to see what people think.
Tariq, it's launched, so you can continue.
Good. So the next one is what I've used to decide what kind of team is better. So let's say you're able to, with reasonable understanding, profile each person. So I take an example. Okay, Pete is 10% of an idea person, but then he's 30% of the other columns and 40 and 20. And you sort of map it out and you total it up. Well, which is the better team? The more balanced team or the less balanced team? Where are your gaps and so on? So in this case, I would prefer team B, but you'll find that there are contextual situations where that might not be right. Part of it is because, of course, outsourcing comes into play. So if you have low technology, well, you can bring in people. The founders don't all have to cover that. But, we're getting into details. Do you have an answer?
I do, and it is 62% thinks it's profile 1, and 31% thinks it's profile 2, and 8% for profile 3.
Okay, that's interesting. In the class, everybody chose profile 4. They kind of were, I guess they'd seen the movie and they thought Mark stole the idea, so he was not the idea guy. And on a tech, sure, he knew tech, but he was not a nerdy tech like Bill Gates was. He was much more an execution and marketing guy. So it's funny, but